Oh, yeah. Welcome, Climate Viewers. This is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News at ClimateViewer.com. And wouldn't you know it, global boiling. So I got an anonymous text shooting me this video. And I decided, I'll take a look. And it was from Redacted on YouTube. Bill Gates and EU have lost their minds. Millions could die if they succeed. Which, of course, brought out a lot of feelings, because I get deeps in my feels, being a Scorpio. And I want to talk about, why do billionaires want to kill people? I mean, they say global warming is going to kill people, and then they come up with an idea to block out the sun, which they know will kill people. And they're totally high-fiving each other and getting, money together, throwing money at it. Let's kill people to save people from global warming, global boiling, killing people. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Bill Gates. We're going to talk about George Soros. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of billionaires, the top 0.1% throwing their money at blocking out the sun, and what the ramifications for people like us is going to be. Because we already know what the ramifications will be. That and much more if you're watching this somewhere else, because there are many options these days. Come over to @ClimateViewer on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, go to ClimateViewer.com, the home of geoengineering, pollution, privacy, propaganda, and weather modification history, and support the channel by donating one of 5 ways. Greatly appreciated. Let's get it. So I saw this video, and honestly, you know me, guys. I don't watch a lot of YouTube. I don't watch a lot of other people's stuff. Okay. But I'm always interested when I hear, a layperson's view, on this topic, because this is, obviously my topic. So I'm going to play a little bit of this. I don't know how much I'm going to play of it. But let's just hear what they have to say about it to begin with.
Well, the European Union, along with Bill Gates and George Soros, have a plan to block out the sun. Yes, lower the Earth's temperatures by launching chemicals into space that would block out the sun. What could possibly go wrong? Well, we'll get to their plan in a moment. But first, you might have picked up a newspaper lately that told you the Earth is boiling. That's the headline across multiple newspapers. It's so hot that if you bring a glass of water outside, it will boil in your hands, apparently. That's what boiling is, right?
What? I mean, I live in South Carolina, all right? Now, in South Carolina, it's usually between 60 to 100% humidity, year-round. And it doesn't get much hotter than here. I've lived in 140 degrees in Arizona for over 7 years. It does not compare to 100 degrees in South Carolina. No, there's no comparison whatsoever. I'll take 140 degrees in Arizona any day over the heat we have here. Boiling? Little hyperbolic? That's propaganda for you. Are you scared yet? Has the fear porn grabbed you? Well, if it hasn't, let me anoint you with the powers from the World Economic Forum. We want to scare the shit out of you into compliance. You will obey.
So clearly that'll happen. Here's the Daily Mail picking up on this boiling headline, the impact of global boiling. So you won't see global warming anymore. You'll just see global boiling. And they're talking about Greenland, specifically the ice sheet melting there during the hottest month ever recorded on Earth. Of course, we only recorded it for 150 years. I don't know if you, newsflash, the Earth is a lot older than we started recording shit, FYI. Just in case any of those scientists are keeping track, it goes back millions of years.
Which is why the whole idea of, them shifting from, well, we won't go back to them shifting from global cooling to global warming to global cooling to global warming to global cooling to global warming. They threw that out and they said, fuck it, climate change. we're just going to say climate change from now on. But the climate's always changed. I mean, Maunder minimum, ice ages. The climate has always changed. It always will change. What exactly are you saying? So they've kind of strayed away from global warming to try to replace it with climate change. Back to global warming, now global boiling, which is interesting because, side note, total tangent just came to mind. Arctic Methane Emergency Group. These guys believe that runaway global warming, it's called the Clathrape gun hypothesis. They focused on a video titled "The Day the Oceans Boiled." Interesting. Continue. I said continue. Behave, computer.
Maybe even billions of years. How old's the Earth? Does anyone know? Let us know. It's certainly older than the 150 or so years that we've been tracking how hot the Earth is. Pictures of wildfires and newspapers also making headlines are all the fault, apparently, of global boiling. There's never been a wildfire in history before, the history of this planet, until global warming came along, apparently. Wildfires didn't exist. I don't know if you know that. There's never...
I was completely unaware. I mean, I'm so glad that I watched this tonight. Wow. There's never been wildfires before man-made global. That's bullshit. And we all know it. It doesn't, you do not have to be a forestry manager or an atmospheric scientist to know these things. There's always been wildfires, whether they were caused by lightning or some moron who flicked this bic.
Never been a fire on Earth that caused a forest to catch on fire until global warming hit a few years ago. People in Italy are so hot that they're jumping into the Trevi Fountain just to cool off. You might have seen a number of these headlines. Oh my God, it's so hot. Bill Gates to save us all. And George Soros, who funded a plan to block out the sun using aerosols sprayed from airplanes and injected using high altitude balloons. With these giant sprayers, think chemtrails, you block out the sun, you drop the Earth's temperature, just like a volcanic eruption. Saudi Arabia, of course, already doing this, using these sprayers for cloud seeding in order to try to get it to rain. But now think of it on a global scale.
Israel also does cloud seeding.
Yeah, a number of countries, right? Israel, Saudi Arabia. I mean, this is not, I'm sure the United States in parts are using it.
I'm sure the United States in parts are using it. If anybody knows these guys from Redacted, tell them I'll do a free interview because they don't know the history of this. I mean, she seems to know a little bit more than he does, at least on the topic of cloud seeding. But like, we invented it. It was invented at the General Electric labs, and there are more cloud seeding projects in America than any other country in the world, except China. But yeah, based on landmass. But please continue.
The United States did it in Vietnam in order to flood out enemy trails.
They did do it in Vietnam to flood out enemy trails. No mention of the fact that that was weather warfare. No mention that it was Operation Popeye, but let's let that one float on by.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, and multiple countries are using this already on a smaller scale, using cloud seeding projects to try to get it to rain. But
many countries are using this on a smaller scale to get it to rain. China has literally covered the entire Himalayas, two-thirds the size of India, bigger than Spain. Hundreds of thousands of cloud seeding generators. I mean, I wish I knew the guy's name, but dude, get it right.
Now imagine using it to block out the sun with particulates that'll stay up there for months at a time.
Not months at a time. If you spray particulates into the stratosphere, years at a time. Years. Troposphere, weeks to months. Stratosphere, we'll say 6 months to 2 years. Average. Big difference.
Isn't that why we were told we can't use aerosol hairspray?
I think so, right? Wasn't that the whole point? It's causing a hole in the ozone layer.
Well,
totally different story. But
this would be like the opposite of that, though. This would be the opposite of a hole in the ozone. This would be making like a super ozone, basically, like blocking out the sun.
A double layer of ozone, exactly, because it's in the stratosphere. This is their whole plan. So this is
no, it would not be creating a second stratosphere. It would not be like doubling the stratosphere. In fact, it would SO2, sulfuric acid, would destroy the ozone layer. In fact, in most geoengineering peer-reviewed studies and the geoengineering model and intercomparison project, where they model what geoengineering would look like, almost unanimously, yes, rainfall changes worldwide, and guess what? It screws with atmospheric chemistry, destroys ozone layer, bad all around. That's why just recently, the latest Bill Gates idea, David Keith, ScopeX, and I believe I have that up on the screen here. If you look at ScopeX, the stratospheric controlled perturbation experiment, which is what also known as the Strato Cruiser, what David Keith is actually talking about with his balloon is using calcium carbonate. And the reason why they're talking about using calcium carbonate is because they realize that, addition of sulfur, like volcanoes, will destroy the ozone layer. We'll have all of the same effects of, volcanoes, and will kill people. So they've said, well, maybe calcium would have less effect on ozone, but still give the reflectivity, yada, 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 yada. But anyway, back to what they were saying.
Exactly. They want to do this now on a global scale. The EU, Bill Gates, George Soros, they want to do this. And this is exactly what the EU is planning to do. Watch this report from CBS on blocking out the sun. They're doing like a deep dive promotion of this video. They're doing like a deep dive promotion of this entire plan. Just look how they're sort of jolly about talking about it. Watch.
What exactly is solar geoengineering?
A set of proposed technologies to rapidly cool the Earth by reflecting sunlight back into space.
The idea is based on the cooling effect of volcanic eruptions. When Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines erupted in 1991, it spewed 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the sky. That reflected so much sunlight, global temperatures dropped by an entire degree the following year.
So
now I want to think on this for a second. When Mount Pinatubo erupted, 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide. But if you go to what David Keith had to say about it, and you can do that simply by coming up here to geoengineering, David Keith said, why don't we just put 1 million tons up? So that's 20 times less than Mount Pinatubo did. But guess what? That will kill people. Solar radiation management will kill people. Tell them, David.
This is a really important moral point. So if I made a decision, or if there was a collective decision to do a geoengineering program, and you put, say, the kind of program I think makes more sense to put about 1 million tons a year in, but let's say, you might end up killing many tens of thousands of people a year as a direct result of that decision. I think that has moral consequences. I don't sweep it under the rug. So this is a case where I take this much differently from Alan and think it's a much more serious issue. Now, it's true that as part of doing that, you would hope that the overall benefits of human mortality would be so that you would save many, many more people than that. But the fact that you would save more people than you killed doesn't mean there's no moral impact.
He says with a laugh. Back to video, they noticed the laugh also.
one notion is that we could mimic those volcanic eruptions by sending specially equipped airplanes into the stratosphere to do exactly the same thing.
Okay, great. That's great. That's the
You know
idea.
what I think of when I hear these guys doing stuff like this?
Dr. Evil?
Oppenheimer. I don't know if you guys
I haven't seen it yet.
That.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Well, there's one part where they're talking about, like, this could ignite every atom in the universe. We're just not sure. It could. We're going to take that chance. But and the guy's like, wait, you mean there's a chance it could destroy humanity? And they're like, well,
Let's try it.
I guess.
Shouldn't everyone get a vote?
So you're telling me there's a chance. Would you ever marry me?
So it's interesting because, again, this channel is huge, apparently. 2 million subscribers. This literally has been out a day ago, has 228,000 views. And I'm going, and then they go to Oppenheimer, and I'm like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. You mean like when I covered my, little thought experiment, geoengineering and Oppenheimer, like right there. Oh, wow. Way over zoomed. But anyway, geoengineering and Oppenheimer and how I compared the two. That was 3 weeks ago before the film launched. But regardless, it's a little creepy sometimes whenever I notice, that these big channels, they catch on to these. I don't know. Maybe I'm just full of shit. Okay. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Everything's a coincidence, right?
Would you ever go out with me? Not for
anyway,
one in a million.
Joke, and then he
so
talks
telling
about
me there's a chance.
book.
Hey, what is that? I know it, and you can't say it. Anyway, so CBS is in on this.
Too brave.
So CBS is in on it, doing a deep dive promotion of this whole idea of this volcanic eruption, not even questioning the devastation of this prolonged aerosols in the atmosphere due to volcanic eruptions. They're not journalists. They're parroting the pseudoscience behind this. And it's madness, actually. Someone who did do a deep dive on this are the co-authors, Nicholas and William Klingman, authors of the book The Year Without Summer, 1816 and the Volcano That Darkened the World and Changed History. Now, I read this book a few weeks ago because I wanted to understand more about how devastating it would be to block out the sun. Once I started hearing them...
This is where I absolutely love this video, because the whole idea that the modern push for geoengineering, solar geoengineering, stratospheric aerosol injection is the idea that they would mimic volcanoes. So if you want to understand how these billionaires who are funding these ideas want to kill people, you just simply have to look at how do volcanoes kill people, right? Seems pretty obvious. Well, let's see what this guy has to say.
Talk more and more about this blocking out the sun. This book sort of fell in my lap, and it really speaks about the historical record of the summer of 1816. So here's a little history for you. And hopefully these people on CBS will pay attention to this, and maybe Bill Gates will pay attention to this.
He won't.
You see, the eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia in the year 1815 triggered a change in the global climate, a massive change. The heavier material fell to the ground, the ocean's surface. But the aerosol particles devastated crops around the world, caused massive famine, wiped out populations, led to the slaughtering of livestock because they had no food to feed the livestock. Snow and frost hitting farms and fields in July, months after this eruption. At the time, they couldn't figure out what the heck was causing it. They didn't know. They didn't even have telegraph lines at the time. Everyone from John Adams to Thomas Jefferson to Jane Austen wrote about it in their diaries and correspondence. Incredibly cold and abnormal summer of 1816, and tens of thousands of people died as a result of starvation due to the famine. In May of 1816 alone, the frost killed off most of the crops. Higher elevations like Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Vermont, as well as upstate New York, couldn't plant anything. On June 6th, snow fell in Albany, New York, and in Dennisville, Maine, and Cape May, New Jersey. Snow, frost, in the middle of summer. 5 nights in a row in late June. All sorts of crops damaged. And according to the authors, the volcano only caused the global temperatures to decrease by less than 1 degree Celsius. Less than 1 degree. Caused the global famine and population decline. Then we saw the exact same thing happen in the early 1900s. And again, after the explosion of the atomic bombs, caused similar atmospheric particles that blocked out the sun for months at a time.
Yeah, who hasn't heard of nuclear winter? But this is the point. Global warming will not kill people, but global cooling, rapid cooling, will certainly kill many, many people. From destruction of crops to mold to so many other factors. Global cooling, rapid global cooling, will kill more people than global warming ever could. A century worth of global warming would not hold a, would not hold a dime to freaking literally 6 months of rapid cooling, because plants, everything on the planet's going to immediately react to that.
So let's watch this again and watch him smiling here as they talk about replicating the effects of a volcano. Like, it's going to be fun.
What exactly is solar geoengineering?
A set of proposed technologies to rapidly cool the Earth by reflecting sunlight back into space.
The idea is based on the cooling effect of volcanic eruptions. When Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines erupted in 1991, it spewed 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the sky. That reflected so much sunlight, global temperatures dropped by an entire degree the following year.
So one notion is that we could mimic those volcanic eruptions by sending...
We could mimic those volcanoes. Oh, yeah. And maybe kill millions of people like my WEF overlords have ordered me to do. These guys, man, I swear to God. Yeah, they go on a little bit more, I guess I'll let it play.
Specially equipped airplanes into the stratosphere to do exactly the same thing.
Oh, we could mimic those volcanic eruptions. Like, this will be fun.
Can you think of any reasons we shouldn't do that? Is maybe the follow-up question.
Yeah, there's a good answer to that. In fact, if you go to climateviewer.com/geoengineering and you just zoom in on this section right here that says 27 reasons to ban solar radiation modification, there's 27 good reasons why it's a bad freaking idea, let alone all of the reasons listed here about it killing people, how to deal with the losers, and, the good old double catastrophe scenario. So, yeah, I'd say there's plenty of good reasons not to geoengineer.
That the journalist doesn't ask?
Hey, what if that journalist said, hey, I just read this book on the summer of 1816. I just watched Redacted and I saw that they were talking about it. And it turns out there was widespread death and famine, caused global population decline, just absolute destruction of crops, and set economies into total ruin. Hey, what about that? Well, I haven't seen that book. I don't know that research. Well, maybe you should look into it. But what about
But there's no way in hell that guy from the Harvard Solar Geoengineering program has not heard of Alan Robach, who wrote 20 reasons back in 2010, and then 27 reasons geoengineering might be a bad idea. Stratospheric aerosol injection benefits and risks, 2018. Alan Robach. There's no way in hell the guy on the CBS interview has not heard of Alan Robach and does not know these 27 reasons. This is like fundamental shit, okay? So these guys don't know this. Apparently the guy's named Clayton. If you guys know Clayton, I'll be glad to talk with Clayton. But the bottom line is the guy knows. He's from the Harvard Solar Geoengineering program. They fund the Koich Group. The Koich Group is what runs ScopeX, which runs David Keith's stratospheric controlled perturbation experiment, which is funded by Bill Gates. A little bit of homework and they would have known this, but apparently, they had other things to talk about.
Boiling argument that's being floated around by the United Nations Secretary General and newspapers around the world. Is that true? Are we boiling right now? Is Greenland melting? Turns out it's based on out-of-date, old data. The Earth is not boiling. In fact, it comes from a computer model based on decades-old data. These so-called scientists refuse to use the new data that was published in 2020. Instead, they keep using the old, out-of-date data from 2010, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
If they did use the new data, they would see that the Earth's temperature has dropped slightly, and Greenland's melting of ice actually went in the reverse.
There's
true. More ice in Greenland now.
In fact, they cut off the polar observing webcams at some point because they didn't want people to see that the North Pole was literally re-icing. And Greenland's ice sheet is actually growing currently. But all of this can be like put to rest in like a blink if you just do something simple like go to co2coalition.org, which I suggest everybody, if you have not been to this website yet, please do, and then click on Get the Facts. co2coalition.org. Get the facts. And I don't know why the hell this website always just automatically scrolls to the bottom, but they got an issue. And I'm gonna drop this in chat because it's not in the details. But share that with your climate change buddy and watch their hair, catch on fire. Because even though it's fact number 3, first and foremost, CO2 is plant food.
Ice there. But don't let the facts get in the way. As long as women in Rome are stripping down and jumping in fountains in the middle of August, newspapers will continue to tell us that the earth is boiling.
I mean, what are a fountain for? You know?
I mean, if I'm going to go to a fountain, that's what I would want to see.
Sure.
I don't really care about the Gothic stone carvings.
Okay.
I'd like to see it, I'd like to see that. That'd be better. I'd be more happy. But I saw a dog jump into a fountain, and they were trying to get a dog out of the fountain in Italy, and it was running around in circles, and people couldn't get it out. That's funny. It's absolutely the case that they want that. Seems perfect, right? There's a lot of themes around population control and population decline by having, getting rid of meat, blocking out the sun, southern border invasion tonight in tonight's show. I think it's all interrelated. So thanks, Bill Gates.
Yeah. All right. Well, so
the point being, these illuminated ones, they just can't help themselves, like I don't know why, billionaires are so obsessed with blocking out the sun. But maybe it has something to do with the fact that they've built up all of this fear around global warming. And you never let a good crisis go to waste, real or promulgated, meaning, real or fake, made up. So now that they've got this made up narrative that global warming is going to kill people, well, it's the same. And that was the point of the video that I made on Oppenheimer. If you listen to what he actually says, he's basically making the same argument that the geoengineers are making today, that we made the bomb because it would save more lives than it would kill. You've all heard the, I am death, the destroyer of worlds. It's what he says before that's more important.
And therefore, they hoped that we would not start out by using it. On the other hand, they hoped, or other people hoped, that it would put an end to this war, save countless lives, put an end to a butchery that had been going on.
Put an end to the war, save countless lives. This is the mindset of these scientists. It's the same thing as Oppenheimer. It's just geoengineering. And the people that are funding these scientists, they don't ask, should we? They ask, can we? And whenever they ask, can we, they don't really ask for permission. They just say, is it possible? And how can we do it without getting sued or like people coming after us with pitchforks and, torches? That's what's really going on. So at the end of the day, they don't really care about your opinion. I know this personally because I have gone like this with Ken Caldera in his geoengineering group. They did public relations studies on this. They asked people, hey, what do you think about the idea? This is back in 2010 to to 2013 when I was debating Ken Caldera. And they came out with this study where they were, researching the public's opinion on geoengineering. And it was like 80% of respondents were like, no, this is a terrible idea. This should never, ever happen. And I swear to God, this was Ken Caldera's response. I believe the problem with the, let's just use generic terms everybody can understand. The problem with the poll was that the question wasn't framed properly. And I believe if you reframed the questions this way, that more people would be accepting of geoengineering. What did he mean by reframing the question? He meant that if you stressed how dangerous global warming is, then maybe they would be more accepting of the idea that some people have to die in order to save the majority. Just like with Oppenheimer. We were hoping we would save more lives. That's the part that's missed in this quote.
Would never be used in war, and therefore they hoped that we would not start out by using it. On the other hand, they hoped, or other people hoped, that it would put an end to this war, save countless lives, put an end to a butchery that had been going on for many years and had been marked by atrocities, concentration camps, murderous raids on cities, Rotterdam and Dresden and Tokyo itself. And that on the whole we were inclined to think that if it was needed to put an end to the war and had a chance of so doing, we thought that was the right thing to do. We knew that
if it was necessary to put an end to global warming, then we thought that was the right thing to do.
the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
And I suppose that's probably
as Julius Robert.
What the hell? What the hell was that? Anyway, and that's exactly how the geoengineers, you heard David Keith. Many tens of thousands of people will die, but it's our hope that we will save more lives than we kill. Do you really believe that? Like, I used to want to give him the benefit of the doubt that he truly believed global warming was so dangerous that, just like Oppenheimer, he just had rose-colored glasses and said, you know what? It's going to save more people than it's going to harm. Remind you of anything where involving masks and pokey things in the last 2 years that they thought would, save more lives than harm, that you can't talk about on this platform? Sound familiar? Anyway, so it's not just Bill Gates. It's all of them. It's all of them. And I want to go back to this. And it's pretty interesting. So I'm going to read this to you real quick. At the Munich Security Conference last week, last week being, this was February 24th, 2023. George Soros got an onstage talk about the existential risk that climate change poses to human civilization, as well as appeared to be the 92-year-old Hungarian-American billionaire's preferred method of addressing it, brightening the clouds over the Arctic to reflect the sun's energy away from melting ice caps. But questions aside as to whether Soros, ludicrously maligned in conspiracy-minded right-wing circles, is the best advocate for geoengineering, ludicrously maligned in conspiracy-minded right-wing circles. Alejandro de la Garza, you just gave away your blue card. I can't help it. I fucking hate political pundits, that always drop this left-right paradigm into every single thing. I will never, ever sign up for any party, whether it's Democrat or Republican. I will never check that box. I don't believe that this topic gives one shit what political belief system you have. The only belief system you need is, are we free or is there tyranny? Are we alive or are we dead? And in this case, you're fucking dead. These ideas will kill you. And I think we're way past the point of going, their heart's in the right place. No, I am not a right winger by any standard. Okay? I'm not a left winger by any standard. Me and my wife have this conversation regularly. I'm very liberal on certain subjects. I'm very conservative on other subjects. And I think just about everybody I've ever talked to is the same way. You're never 100% on one side or the other. And if you are, you're fucking crazy. Okay? So there's crazies, as this, jerk off that wrote this, put, conspiracy-minded right-wing circles, ludicrously malign George Soros. But you don't have to be on any side of the aisle after I show you what I'm about to show you, because most people just talked about what he said. He wants to, reflect some sunlight. But when you hear him say it, it's a whole nother thing. Like, actually, how many people have actually heard George Soros talk recently? Just so you know, George Soros gave his money to his son, and his son is now running the family business. And his son said, I am way more political than my father. And if it takes money to defeat the right, I'll throw money at it. Is that a conspiracy theory? Because that's what his son said. Just saying. But anyway. But questions aside to whether Soros is the best advocate for solar geoengineering, he's not the only billionaire who's recently become interested in bouncing the sun's rays back into space. Among the world's ultra-rich plans to swat back sun's rays like their capital gains taxes to, as it were, apply a generous helping of sunblock to the Earth's atmosphere have seemingly been all the rage. Bill Gates, for instance, backed the Harvard University scientists to test an idea to spray calcium carbonate. Already covered this, guys. David Keith's ScopeX program, Harvard Solar Geoengineering program. You can look all these things up. Into the atmosphere over the skies in northern Scandinavia in 2021. The project was ultimately canned after outcry from local indigenous groups and environmentalists, named the ETC Group and Geoengineering Monitor and Hands Off Mother Earth. So to be clear, Time Magazine, leftist, pundit, bullshitter, David Keith tried to launch his balloon in Arizona before he went to Scandinavia to try to launch his balloon, And the ETC group and Hands Off Mother Earth signed the Hands Off Mother Earth Manifesto and got 180 plus, civil societies, NGOs and everything to sign on to it. And basically the Andoya rocket range said, we don't want nothing to do with this. So his balloon got grounded. But, summing it up into a sentence like, outcry from local indigenous groups and environmentalists. I thought the left loved environmentalists. What the hell happened there? RFK's an environmentalist. Now it makes sense. They don't really like environmentalists. Because why? They're going to destroy the environment. Jeff Bezos put Amazon supercomputers to work modeling efforts of plans to inject huge amounts of sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere later that year. Wait, I think I remember that one. Didn't I cover that? I'm pretty sure I covered that. Amazon. Amazon funds solar geoengineering studies. It's right there. I've covered all of this shit. Like everything you could possibly see. Link right there. This was 1 year ago. Amazon funds geoengineering studies. Covered it. And yeah. It's a whole ass thing. And I covered the Great Barrier geoengineering, the Great Barrier Reef, marine cloud brightening. This is what George Soros is talking about doing when he says making clouds more reflective, using marine cloud brightening. More on that in just a second. Let's get back to this article. So yeah, Jeff Bezos did do that. Covered it a year ago. Earlier this month, Dustin Moskovitz, a billionaire Facebook co-founder, plowed $900,000 into funding for scientists in Mali, Brazil, Thailand, and other countries to study the potential effects of solar geoengineering. Even smaller fry are getting in on the action, with venture capitalists giving a combined $750,000 to a company pledging to implement a planetary solar geoengineering project using SO2. That company, Make Sunsets, conducted its first US-based test last week, launching balloons containing SO2 in Nevada. Again, a lie. This is in February. I mean, Time Magazine, bro. Dude had like so many lies in just those first two paragraphs. I'm done with this article. But you got the links in the details. Read it for yourself. Why billionaires are obsessed with blocking out the sun. But yeah, Make Sunset started their little geoengineering experiment long before last week in February. In fact, they had started the previous April and then did it again in October and December. And in December, that made the news, which led to Mexico banning geoengineering. Then they went and filled out a NOAA form and reported to the U.S. government they were going to geoengineer. And this is Luke Eisman and Andrew Song from Make Sunset, who Renette Senham and Lord Advocates, the legal team, are currently suing, which I'm helping out with that, providing information. This is bullshit, but the not bullshit part is, yes, billionaires are throwing money at this. So here we are with Bill Gates and company. EU backs Bill Gates' plan to fight global warming by blocking sun, August 5th, 2023. So this is your new one. The European Union has thrown its support behind Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates' radical plans to fight global warming by blocking light from the sun to lower temperature of the earth. The EU will join an international globalist effort to examine the effectiveness of the plan. I covered this as well. in a different video, I'm going to go back here, that it wasn't just the EU. So it was actually the EU and Biden, you know, talking about, you know, blocking the thing, you know, the thing that, I can feel this warm on my hand. Anyway, that basically the Biden White House and the European Union simultaneously agreed to study solar radiation modification, to study marine cloud brightening, and cirrus cloud seeding, cirrus cloud thinning, aka melting chemtrails, melting contrails, melting cirrus clouds. Put your conspiracy hat on, you freaking chemtards, because there's nothing to see here. But right now, Biden's White House and the European Union and Bill Gates and George Soros are all studying cirrus cloud thinning to melt those clouds away at night. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Anyway, we're going to rip through the rest of this real quick. So it wasn't just Bill Gates, EU backs Bill Gates' plan. EU plus Bill Gates plus George Soros plus Joe Biden all together want to geoengineer, plus the other guys they mentioned. So what do we have here? This is back from February 2018. George Soros pushes plan to fight climate change by blocking the sun. Now, this is all that made the news was, ice sheets melting in Greenland in particular, he claimed could doom human civilization. Quote, let's let him read it, because I covered this on my video here. Nice little timestamp. Take it away, George.
Which governs the entire global climate system.
Okay, so question real quick. What's scarier? Smart, dumb people or dumb, smart people? Because this is scary to me. I mean, this is the guy that literally just, total Joe Biden moment.
Greenland ice sheet affects
it's freaking painful. It's painful. So yeah, that's
David King, climate acid,
come on, you can get it together, George. Come
increase the level of the oceans by 7 meters. That poses a threat to the survival of our civilization. I wasn't willing to accept that fate, so I tried to find out whether anything could be done about it. I was directed to Sir David King, climate.
Okay. I mean, you total joke. Anyway, so yeah, that's him. You know what? Maybe I should just read it. Let me translate what he was actually saying, because nobody can understand George Soros's unintelligible ramblings. What he said was, our civilization is in danger of collapsing because of the inexorable advance of climate change. Maybe they shouldn't have gave him such big words. I mean, shit, I got partials in my mouth and I can read the word inexorable. Bro, get your dentures together. I don't know. Anyway, the melting of the Greenland ice sheet would increase the level of the oceans by 7 meters. That poses a threat to the survival of our civilization, he continued. I wasn't willing to accept that fate, so I tried to find out whether anything could be done to avoid it. I was directed to Sir David King, a climate scientist. That, like, at this point, like, the worst possible thing, I know my channel is called ClimateViewer, my website is called ClimateViewer. If any of you motherfuckers call me a climate scientist, I'm coming for your ass, because that's an insult at this point. I was directed to Sir David King, a climate scientist who had been chief scientific advisor to the previous British governments. Sir David King has a plan to repair the climate system, he added. He wants to recreate the albedo effect by creating white clouds high above the earth. Maybe that's not marine cloud brightening, because high above the earth would not be marine cloud brightening. That would be solar geoengineering. That'd be stratospheric aerosol injection. That's solar geo, baby. That's the one that kills people. Big league. That's mimicking volcanoes. So, just a refresher. Yeah. George Soros, Bill Gates, they want to kill people. But they say they want to do it because they want to save some ice on some island because it might cause the oceans to rise. But the ice is growing back. B-Tech Vendetta? That's your ass. I saw that. And while we're at it, chat, I see you over there smirking with your little comments saying, Jim Lee doesn't talk. Why don't you ever talk about HAARP? You never talk about HAARP, Jim Lee. What's that all about? Look here, jackasses. Nobody talks about HAARP more than I've talked about HAARP. If you don't know this, now you know. Go to this section of my freaking website. B-Tech Vendetta, you trolly ass bitch, called me a climate scientist right there in chat. Like right after. Ooh yeah. Anyway, so yeah, talking about HAARP, you want to know about HAARP? I mean, this is 2019, sounding rockets, China's HAARP they're building, and all of their cloud seeding projects, an entire PowerPoint on HAARP, climate control global trading LLCs, HAARP-like installations to steer hurricanes and ionospheric modification, geoengineering with diamond dust and HAARP 2018, Trump Space Force owning the weather, fire the HAARP. I mean, it just goes back and back. The Twisted Tree mystery of 2018 with the weather, electromagnetic warfare, and what. I know you're joking, B-Tech. I love you, bro. I know. I'm having fun with you. You're having fun with me. It's the circle. Okay. Russian woodpecker from 1986. Very similar. That many people died as a result of ionospheric heating from the Russian woodpecker, which was powered by the Chernobyl reactor. And guess what? Cold kills people. You cannot make this stuff up. Do I have it here? Yeah. I'm not going to read this shit to you guys right now. You can go read it. I'm on a tangent. But anyway, all of this is HAARP. All of this going all the way back. A whole series on HAARP. These are from 2014. All of these articles are the most accurate, most lengthy on the entire internet about HAARP. I have harped on HAARP more than anybody has harped on HAARP. Damn you people. Coming in here acting like you know. You don't know. Take your ass on if you don't know. But anyway, George Soros wants to get in on the fun. Sounds like an idiot when he talks about it. Bill Gates feeling giddy about blocking the sun. We all know this. But that's not the only thing. It's not the only game in town, baby. Because we all know what's going on. They already doing this shit, Jim. That's what half of you guys in chat right now are probably thinking. They already geoengineering, Jim. Why don't you tell them the truth, Jim? Well, the truth is, They call that shit accidental geoengineering with ship tracks and contrails. It's just an accident. Don't you know? This is probably one of the most important articles I ever wrote. I wrote it back in 2018. It's 5 years old. Hey, man, time flies. I wrote this on MIT's ClimateX website, and they deleted it because it became the #1 most viewed, most shared on all of MIT's website. So they didn't like that. But I was showing the ship tracks and I was showing the contrails and pointing out that MIT University itself was talking about this plan to, kill a massive accidental experiment into stopping global warming. We don't need to go to archive.org for this one. We're about to kill a... Go away. I will kill all your little pop-ups. We're about to kill a massive accidental experiment in reducing global warming with ship tracks. Okay? Studies have found that ship tracks have a net cooling effect. That pollution from ships, bunker fuel, was, basically covering the entire sky. If you go to climateviewer.com and you scroll down here and you go to the ship track section, you'll find that I've been covering ship tracks way the hell back here. My first article about ship tracks was in 2014. And I know that you guys all follow Mike Morales. Mike Morales started making his videos in like 2016 on geoengineering and talked a lot about ship tracks. I applaud Mike Morales for talking so much about ship tracks. But I mean, I've been talking about it since 2014, and this isn't even the original post because I was on I was on WordPress before this, and a lot of this shit got moved. So the original post for this was, before that. I mean, it was like I think it was in like 2011 was the first, most of the original articles that are on climateviewer.com are from my first blog. Anyway, doesn't matter. So yeah, ship tracks always been a problem. But then there's also, where's it at? Let's go to accidental. No. What did I do? I put a slash in. I put a slash on. There it was. Boom. And here. And this is from Smithsonian Magazine. What do they say? They say the exact same thing. Airplane contrails may be creating accidental geoengineering. It's just an accident, don't you know? Whenever ships make clouds, whenever planes make clouds, when that affects blocking the sun, it's an accident. Whenever Bill Gates and George Soros talk about it, it's a study. It's just a study in the future. They're throwing their, billions at studying a potential way to stop global boiling. Come on now. You're not that stupid. Nobody here is that stupid. So we're talking, this was, when was this published? January 2018. This one was published 2015. And this was as a result of Chuck Long's finding out that basically ice haze was whitening the sky. I cover this on weather modification history. I cover this a lot, actually. It's in almost every damn video I talk about. I'm like, it's not the clouds, it's the sky. The sky's turning white. It's, it's changing the way the sky looks. We might be actually conducting some unintentional geoengineering here, or accidental geoengineering. Well, guess what? Shipping emissions may be cooling the planet 2020. This is a different take on it. Both MIT and this one right here, this article from 2020, were basically apoplectic that they were going to ban that the global industry shipping industry was going to ban bunker fuel. And because of that ban, they were scared. Well, what happens if all the sulfur goes away? What are we going to do? I'm trying to like filter out chat. I'm reading chat and I want to react to chat. I see Herndon's name. I'm gonna like break down Herndon's papers and J. Marvin Herndon, coal fly ash. In the future, it's not this video. That is too adjacent. That is too tangential for this video. But I see your comment and mental note made. We'll dig deep on that one another day. So what they're saying here is we don't want the shipping pollution to go away. We don't want the clouds to go away. We like the bunker fuel making the clouds because it's cooling the planet. Uh-oh. News update. Ding, 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 ding. August 2nd, 2023. We're changing the clouds. An unintended test of geoengineering is fueling record ocean warmth. Pollution cuts have diminished ship track clouds, adding to global warming. You see what they did there? They went from we may be cooling the planet with, heavy fuel oil, with bunker fuel. We're about to kill a massive accidental experiment in reducing global warming, to now that we've banned ship bunker fuel, we're changing the clouds, an unintended test of geoengineering. And that's from science.org. This ain't some rag now. Those words are chosen very carefully. We're changing the clouds. An unintended test of geoengineering is fueling record ocean warmth because of pollution cuts. Because guess what? Sulfur kills people. That's the whole point of this whole fucking video. If you haven't got it by now, that these geoengineering ideas that are based on the mimicking volcanoes, that Mount Pinatubo, 1991, put 200 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the sky, and it lowered the temperature a little bit. Bold as a lion. Stop reading chat, Jim. I'm still reading chat. So you saying for me to stop reading chat is not helping me not read chat, because I can't help but read chat. It's a moving thing, and I'm just too damn curious. This is my feedback loop. I got to see if you guys are up to shenanigans, or if there's something I should address in there. Like, is somebody trolling? If they're trolling, I love a good troll. But if you're trolling and you're being threatening and my mods aren't handling, I'm going to handle it. So, see what you did there? Now I'm talking about chat again. Back to the story. Damn. So at the end of the day, here we are, August 2nd, 2023. Now they're admitting, shit, we really didn't want, to get rid of the bunker fuel. You banned the bunker fuel. And now all these beautiful ship tracks that we loved and adored because they were geoengineering, and we really liked it. And we liked it better when we were calling it an accidental experiment, or shipping emissions may be cooling the planet by modifying clouds, marine stratocumulus clouds. But now it's like, well, shit, this unintended test of geoengineering is fueling record ocean warmth. Oh, by the way, that stuff's now, they replaced it with? They replaced it with something even worse. Shipping gate. Why toxic, very low sulfur fuel oil, VLSFO, Frankenstein fuel is such a danger for the planet. My God. 10 deadly issues with VLSFO. An experimental fuel is causing ship engine failure and ship disasters around the world. Yeah. This is what they replaced the bunker fuel with. What is all the talk about gang stalking in the freaking chat? I mean, what in the holy hell is going on in this chat right now with this talk of gang stalking? That's what I'm trying to figure out, because I've seen it come up like 15 times now. Somebody tell me, what in the fuck is Scott talking about right here? Because I'm trying to figure it out. Like gang stalking, something kind of personal to me. And I'm trying to figure out why the hell you're talking about gang stalking in the chat right now. And if I got to put a squash on this, I will. But if gang stalking is so mandated, why do they try so hard to say it isn't happening? Mandated by who? The gang stalkers? Mandated my ass? I don't know, man. I'm going to have to go back and figure this one out. Because, I mean, what in the absolute fuck is going on here? I am so confused. So confused. Anyway. Keep an eye on that, mods. Because I don't like gang stalkers. Because I don't like bullies, cyber or real life. I break bullies. I've been gang stalked. Many of you know about it when it happened. 500 YouTube videos, gay porn, in the mouth, me, my face, all that. Didn't work out too well for the 7 of them, though. Okay. If you don't remember, if you weren't there for it. But anyway. Just so you know, guys, if you're wondering why I'm like so all over the place, it's because tomorrow I'm going to get an MRI of my brain and my spine. And then I'm driving 3 hours in the opposite direction to go to a dentist. All in one day. Gonna be a hell of a day tomorrow. So, kind of trying to unwind by bitching about things. And that's why we're here tonight. What is the name of the article Jim is currently looking at? This is from Forbes magazine, Shipping Gate, Why Toxic VLSFO. This is the new Jim will dox you. You damn right, Jay Island. Let them know. It's happened before. There were seven individuals who thought they could call themselves October Rains, and they thought they would get away with it, and they did for a year and a half until they put a picture of my wife in there. And that's when the shit hit the fan, and I put all their names, phone numbers, addresses, called their family, did a 6-hour live stream calling their family members, everything. Your uncle so-and-so does this, and then showed them examples. That was 2012. Been there, done that. Hope to never have to repeat it. But anyway, between that and these links should be in chat already. If I didn't put the VLSF one in the details, then my bad. But anyway, so this is the new bunker fuel. This is the new problem. And they're mad because, they wanted to ban pollution, but they, some people want to all right, let me break this down for you. So there's this tug of war going on. And the tug of war is between the oil industry, the barons, the tycoons, the BlackRocks, the Vanguards that want to get to the oil and gas reserves on the North Pole. They have wanted to do this for 100 years. This 100-year plan has not stopped, is not going to stop until they get that oil. Just like Iraq. Think Dave Chappelle playing Black Bush, my favorite skit ever. Oil. Who said anything about, oh, you cooking? Oh shit, they onto us. Run! That is what's going on. Look up the new Cold War. Arctic drilling. Google that. Put new Cold War in quotes and then put Arctic drilling. It'll blow your mind. So you have one group that is damned and determined to continue to frack the North Pole. And then you got another group that's saying, yeah, bitch, you cooking? Scott saw it. It's one of my favorite skits ever. If you haven't watched Chappelle Show, Black Bush, watch it. NATO? Fuck you gonna do, NATO? Sanction me. Sanction me with your army. Oh, wait. You don't have an army. I guess you better shut the fuck up. Oh, it's priceless. It's just priceless. I love it. So one group damned and determined to frack all the things. Frack the ocean, frack every square inch of the ground, drill, baby, drill the North Pole, frack the North Pole, fuck the polar bears. Who cares? The other group is like, but we care. And because global warming and global boiling, we have to do something about this. Oh my gosh. But here's the thing. That's greenwashing almost 90% of the time. The idea that greenwashing is to paint this public perception that you're doing things for a green reason. But in reality, you're not doing it for the reasons you're saying. You're just doing it to virtue signal. You have no intention of saving the environment. Then you have your true believers. So the greenwashers are in the middle, I would say. Or they're on the drill baby drill side. The ones that have since 1890 talked about tilting the Earth's axis to melt the poles, or putting space mirrors or magnifying glasses in outer space to melt the poles, or atomizing the Arctic to melt the poles, or making an artificial ionosphere out of metal, and then doing Project West for needles and dumping 280 million dipole antenna needles into space to melt the poles. They've always been doing this. In 1968, climate engineering paper said just water vapor from supersonic transport planes would melt the poles. It's always been the plan, melt the poles. The problem is, this is not a military shirt. This is a Boy Scouts of America shirt. This is actually my Boy Scout shirt from when I was freaking 15. Well, I was 14 to 17 years old. This is Jim Lee's Boy Scout. And guess what? This is hilarious. The shit still fits. Like, still fits. Oh, baby. Still got it. Troop 305. Panther Patrol, Troop 305, Boy Scouts. Not a military shirt. I just threw my Boy Scout shirt on today. I don't know why. Because I had this white t-shirt on, and I went and I shaved because I was like, Jack's going to see the video and be like, Jim, you haven't shaved. So I was like, all right, well, shit, I'll go shave. And now I got to throw some clothes on. Grab the Boy Scout shirt, throw it on. In fact, because I've been an artist my entire life, I designed this neckerchief for Troop 305. It just happened to be right here on my desk. It's a coincidence, I swear to God. But, I mean, it's the thing. This is my neckerchief, and this is Troop 305, and I came up with this design for Boy Scouts of America when I was a Boy Scout. Anyway, so the whole point is, you got your drillers, you got your greenwashers, and then you got your climate, activists, the true believers, the Dane Wayingtons of the world. that believe that we're all going to actually die. Yes, I'm aware of what happened to the Boy Scouts, and I'm already mad enough. Okay. I'm already mad enough. Don't bring it up. They used to teach you how to be a man. Back when I was in Boy Scouts, they did manly shit. Like dude shit. Like real dude shit. Like literally like you could die dude shit. You know, like let's go scale the whole side of this thing. And by the way, we're going to hang on to roots of trees that are sticking out of a wall of sand. And we're going to go all the way from the Santee River Boy Scout area to the bridge and back. Just saying. So that's a real ass thing. So
Jim, when is your next show with Quite Frankly to bring up all these current topics?
I don't know, B-Tech. I should call the prankster. Frank? What the fuck? Call me, bro. I'll let you know when he lets me know. Quite frankly.tv. If you guys don't watch it, you should. I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. So you got your true believers, you got your fence riders, aka fake people, and then you got your drill baby drillers who also are faking it with the greenwashing. There's always going to be this tug of war. You got the one saying, hey, you know, sulfur kills people. We should probably end bunker fuel. But then you've got the MIT Illuminati over there saying, but wait, the sulfur coming out of the bunker fuel being burned cools the ocean. We don't want that to go away. We need the good pollution. The same is true with the airline industry. Ulrich Schumann, from Germany's version of NASA, the DLR, he said, we want less warming, more cooling contrails, predictable for operational planning. At the ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization, colloquium on climate change. Then I interviewed Dr. Rangasai Halthori from the Federal Aviation Administration's Aviation Climate Change Research Initiative. Mouthful. ACRI, ACCRI. He said, we want more contrail-induced cirrus clouds by day, none by night. Same. It's been pollution for 60, 70 years. They thought it did one thing. In the case of ship tracks, they were pretty sure, and they were probably right, that marine stratocumulus clouds cooled the ocean because they were loaded with sulfur. Contrail cirrus, or chemtrails as most people call them, are cirrus clouds. They thought they cooled the planet, but then after 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, you know, Twin Towers, that 9/11, 2001, and then again in 2008 when they had a volcanic grounding of all flights in Europe, they knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, no, clouds are actually trapping heat like a blanket. They are the greenhouse. So we have this situation where what they thought was cooling the planet was actually trapping the heat. And many different publications on this. Greenland ice sheet melts more when it's cloudy. But wait, didn't I just hear? Wait, how can you have both at the same time? Because you got here, Soros saying that basically, where was it? The melting of the Greenland ice sheet would increase the level of the oceans. That poses a threat. I wasn't willing to accept this. So, I talked to this Sir David King. He has a plan to repair that by recreate the albedo effect by creating white clouds high above the earth. So how can you say on the one hand, Greenland ice sheet melts more when it's cloudy, peer-reviewed journal entry, and then at the same time have George Soros saying, we're going to save the Greenland ice sheet by creating clouds over it. It's because it's about that oil. It's about that money. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about the environment. It's all virtue signaling. At the end of the day, they know that mimicking volcanoes will kill people. They know what volcanic winter is. They know what nuclear winter is. They know that it would lead to massive crop losses. More people die. I think this is one other thing that they covered in that video. I don't remember exactly if they had a chart. It was in this video or not. Let me see. But at some point they had a chart that, you know, basically more people die from cold than heat. And I thought it was in this redacted video, but I couldn't seem to find it apparently. Was it in here?
Now
I'm just gonna like speed through it real fast, because I could have swore there was a chart in there where the guy was basically, you know, showing that yes, more people die from when it's cold than when it's hot. So if you could, you know, freeze the whole damn planet out by blocking the sun, that will kill people. These sick guys, billionaires, will kill you faster and more effectively, more efficiently than global warming. Period. I rest my case on that. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. If you believe that global warming, like Dane Wigington does, that global warming is going to lead to methane erupting and that we're all going to die from global warming, then you have to also believe that geoengineering, like these billionaires are proposing, like the World Economic Forum said, hey, let's put a freaking graphene contact lens in space between the Earth and the sun at the Lagrange point 1 to block, you know, the size of Brazil, to block sunlight from space. If you think the World Economic Forum is doing this to save us from global warming, you're fucking crazy. Do I need to remind you of any of the other things that Darth Schwab has said? These people do not give a fuck about you. They do want to kill people. I could literally do an hour of just clips of people talking about depopulation, overpopulation, reducing population. The list goes on and on. But the point of this is simple. Geoengineering will change rainfall patterns worldwide. And even all of the geoengineering, you know, even when Amazon and Jeff Bezos threw his supercomputers at it to help out the guys doing the GeoMip project, I'll share this one with you. We'll dig just a little bit into this one thing, and this kind of pretty much, you know, says it all. So, if geoengineering is so safe, when they go to study it, when they go to actually model what solar radiation management, Earth radiation management, you know, what that would actually do, tell me about this. Computer models. This is from Jack Stilgo, Experiment Earth, Responsible Innovation in Geoengineering. Now that I've got my voice ready. One junior GeoMip scientist explained the GeoMip choices as a fear of the moral hazard scenario. The scientists did not want the results to be taken support for geoengineering, either as a realistic proposition in and of itself, or as an alternative to mitigation, meaning reducing pollution. The geomet researchers are more interested in working out the quirks of the computer models than the implications of the experiments. Researchers ask each other, how well did we do in balancing the Earth's radiation budget? Because this is all about controlling the temperature of the planet. So you want to get your computer models right? You want to model dumping the chemicals and then say, well, how close to the target did we come? Did we overshoot the target? Did we burn up a lot of people? Did we make it too cold? Did we cause an ice age? That's what these computer models are for. How'd it work out? Not too good. They discuss how many runs of the world were needed to reach equilibrium. One researcher admitted that the experiment had taken dozens of trial runs to end up at the right place. Now think about this for a moment. If it takes you dozens of tries on a computer to get the right result, to end up in a world where we got it kind of right, think about how much more complex the atmosphere is, the chemistry above your head, God's beautiful creation. And if you don't believe in God, God help you. God bless your soul. God bless you. Gaia, Mother Nature. It's freaking complicated. There is no computer currently on this planet or series of computers you could string together that could put all of the variables necessary to recreate the chaos of the atmosphere to the degree that would be necessary to predict long-term changes in global temperature by sprinkling some chemicals in there. For the fuck of it, for fuck's sake, my weatherman can't get the weather right tomorrow. I mean, I look at this thing all the time and I'll go, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow? And then I pull it up and I go, what does it say? And then I go and I scroll down here and I look at, this forecast, and guess what? It's wrong all the freaking time. Like literally, in most cases, tomorrow wrong. Like it says tomorrow, 49% chance of a thunderstorm. Do we understand that that literally means that I can flip a freaking quarter and that's the same accuracy? I'm going to give it a 50-50 chance. It means you don't fucking know. They don't know if it's going to rain tomorrow. 50-50 chance. 50% chance. But you trust these people with the future of the entire planet? Come on, man. Nobody's that dumb. Anyway, they discuss how many runs of the world are needed to reach equilibrium. One researcher admitted that their experiment had taken dozens of trial runs to end up at the right place. Tellingly, when asked whether the number of iterations or runs of the computer simulations, when asked whether the number of iterations had been reported in the relevant scientific paper, the researcher replied that it was unimportant. So the policymakers, the people who are going to make the decisions on whether to legalize geoengineering, these morons like, the Biden administration, the EU heads, Justin Trudeau's of the world, these morons are going to come have some technocrat scientist weenie show up with a computer model. And they're going to go, well, here's the result. And when asked whether the number of iterations had been reported in that paper, the researcher replied, it was unimportant. So let me get this straight. You ran your fucking computer model 300 times to come up with this one result that you reported in your paper. And then you say, and it was okay. Everything worked out okay. What about all the other ones? Because some of them I know had to be really, really bad, right? Did you report that as well? Hell no. Because then you'd be biting the hand that feeds you. Whenever Bill Gates and George Soros is throwing money, they making it rain on you. You think you're going to go out there and say, this is actually a bad idea, George? Bill? Sorry. Maybe we shouldn't do this. You know what? We killed a lot of fucking people in the 300 runs of the computer simulation. And then Bill Gates is like, yeah, but did in any of these iterations, was there a good one? And he was like, well, there was this one time. He's write that one down. Yes, sir. I would like another $2 million to continue funding my research for the next year, sir. May I have some more? That's the way it works. This is where it gets ugly. There is a black comedy to the GeoMIP meetings. GeoMIP means geoengineering model, geoengineering computer model, intercomparison project, meaning that there are hundreds, 50s, 20s, I don't know. There's a lot of different computer models for what geoengineering would do to the world. So they have a GeoMIP, an intercomparison project to compare the results of all the different computer models that everybody came up with. And this is where it gets hella creepy. There is a black comedy to the GeoMIP meetings. The laughter partly relates to the minutia of organizing a new collective area and herding different scientists towards agreements on standards, criteria, and modeling scenarios. There are in-jokes about getting the models to do their job. Quote, every time you touch it, it goes bang and doesn't work. See me, there are too many F words tonight. And that's because, like I said earlier, I'm highly annoyed by fucking billionaires. B, I'm really sick and tired of, other YouTubers with 2 million subscribers who, get 300,000 views in less than a day, but ain't saying shit. And 3, tomorrow I'm going to go sit in a freaking full body MRI, and I fucking hate electromagnetic radiation. So I'm a little bit tense. So if you agree that I've dropped too many F-bombs tonight, I fucking apologize. Just saying. I don't like the idea of them doing an MRI on my brain, but I also hate migraines, and they've been unbearable. There's that. So anyway, every time you touch it, it goes bang, it doesn't work. And they talk about the models having, quote, a life of their own. The same models are described as behaving differently depending on the particular computer server on which they are spun up. Meaning that if I ran the model simulation of what the geoengineered world would look like on my computer, and then I took that same program and I ran it on Jeff Bezos' Amazon Web Services, AWS service cloud computers, the two computers would have two totally different results. That's kind of creepy. That's not science. That's simulation. That's video game shit. Okay? I designed video games. I know. Junk in, junk out. You try to simulate reality. You don't actually get to put reality into a computer and expect reality to come out of it. It's a simulation. So of course you're going to get completely different answers. And it's never going to be right. It'll never ever be right. There's a playful aspect to some of the GeoMIP experiments. They are intentionally unreal. Like the Unreal Engine, which is a video game engine. They're intentionally unreal. But there's also the occasional nervous laughter that comes with the recognition that they are running experiments that at times resemble 20th century war games. One scientist asked,
Has there been any legit articles of contrails in the skies containing bioengineered viruses? Also, do you think a pandemic could happen from these infected Cali lab mice? Or even Gates mRNA mosquitoes?
B-Tech, why'd you have to go there, man? Why'd you have to go there? History does repeat itself. Do I think it's possible? Yes. Have there been any legitimate articles on contrails in the sky containing bioengineered viruses? None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Niente. Nine. There is Clifford Carnicom, and he does talk about cross-domain bacteria, aka Morgellons, and I will maintain until probably the day I die, because I seriously doubt we'll ever see any actual proof, that those chemicals came from that plane because of the amount of space in between. Okay. So what I would say is that, yes, there's a long history of people using biological weapons delivered by mosquitoes, by fleas, all Operation Big Itch, Big Buzz. I covered that on climateviewer.com. I'll just for you, I'll drop a link in the chat real quick. Give me 1 sec. So what I be doing is I'll just come up here to the top and I'll go to all news posts because I know it's there. It was a conspiracy. Okay, so right here you got bacteria infected mosquitoes released in Florida, adulticide in U.S. Air Force aerial spraying. That's one link for you. And it was a conspiracy, military experiments on unsuspecting public. And I do talk about Plum Island, Vicky, on my YouTube channel. I don't know that I actually wrote an article about that. But if you go to my YouTube channel and you type in Plum Island, if the YouTube overlords will allow it to come up, you'll see that I covered that as well. Plum Island power failure causes virus release during Hurricane Bob 1991. Interesting. I wonder if that was before or after the Pinatubo eruption that hurricane happened. But you can look at that as well. But the most important one would be it was a conspiracy, which is right here. And you can see the entire history of that sort of stuff. This has been copy pasted all over the damn internet, but I wrote it in 2013. Operation Big Itch, coverage patterns, survivability of tropical rat fleas used in biological warfare as a disease vector. Operation Big Buzz 55, Operation Mayday, drop kick. See all these other sections on operationsunshine.org. Page on biological warfare, and these are the original FOIA documents that led to that information. Radioactive release with the Manhattan Rochester Coalition, Operation Large Area Coverage, zinc cadmium sulfide spraying from coast to coast out of a C-119 flying boxcar. Operation Do 1 and 2, St. Louis, 1953. But regardless, here's every single one of the zinc cadmium sulfide sprayings by the U.S. Army Chemical Corps. And yes, they were experimenting on everybody. So to answer your friggin' question, is it possible? You damn right it is. Is there any paperwork proving that it's currently happening? No. Which is why I always say, operate on what you know, not what you suspect. Because this information about what the U.S. Army Chemical Corps was doing back in the 50s didn't come out till like 2008. So we're talking almost 60 years later for them to admit it. Okay? So you're going to have to wait 60 years if they're actually... There's Jack Wall. He's in chat right now. James, I'm impressed. Clean face. I shaved for you, Jack. I shaved for you. I did it all for the nookie. The nookie. So you can operate on that premise and say, I can wait, and then, I'm going to be 80. God bless, if I make it to 80 or 90 years old and I'm on my deathbed, and then I see on CNN news, the government today admitted that it was actually spraying morgellons, a toxic biological, agent, all across America in the early 2000s through 2020s, and this was associated with the chemtrail phenomena, then we're all going to be like, we knew it! We fucking knew it! You called us crazy! But do you think that's going to happen anytime soon? I mean, really? Like, you and I can both know that there is the possibility for that to happen. But the reason why I have always tried to set myself aside from most other channels' modus operandi is that I want to stick to the things I know and can prove. And I'll tell you what I believe and what I speculate on, but I want to arm you with information you can take into a court of law and go, these are the facts, which is what we've been talking about tonight. The facts are geoengineering will kill people. The people funding it know that it will kill people, and they just don't give a fuck. Cool, Chris. I'll holler at you, boy. So I hope that answered your question. At the end of the day, yes, billionaires do not give one shit. And the other common question is, well, what are they going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Isn't it going to hurt them too? That's the other big one. They go, well, why would they do that, Jim? Don't these billionaires, they have to live in this world too? Have you seen some of their bunkers? I mean, have you seen some of these guys flexing of their underground hydroponic, fully off the grid, self-sustainable underground sanctuaries? I mean, honestly, like it's downright creepy. It's downright creepy. And I think that they honestly believe they could live without us. That's the sad truth of all this. So at the end of the day, I'm firmly in the camp that they really don't give a shit. And they will gladly, cut down the population, because hopefully they'll cut down the population of people who are free thinkers that aren't, completely just lemmings, NPCs. They want to get rid of all the main players. You know what I mean? They want nothing but NPCs. They want nothing but, Seinfeld watchers and The Walking Dead, with their cell phone that just don't really think about anything, that are not clued in on any of this. Hopefully they can kill all of the people that give a shit about all these things, erase the internet, censor everything else, get rid of every dollar bill on the planet, replace it with something digital, have their technocratic wet dream, sit in their palace at their United Nations, cathedral, and just like the Catholic Church of old, be able to excommunicate people from civil society with the click of a freaking computer button. Just like that. Bam. You know that? We're watching that Jim Lee again, running his fucking mouth on YouTube. Somebody bottom out his social credit score. While you're at it, lock his front door and turn off his electric car and make sure that he's not allowed to go in public ever again. In fact, just lock the doors and windows and then turn his heater on. Turn it all the way up. I want to see him sweating out of every single camera we got in his house. Orwell was not far off from the truth. I will never be a useless eater. Rage Against the Machine. But yeah, there's a lot of useless eaters out there, according to them. And I happen to think that whether you give a shit about these topics or not, whether you take the time, to educate yourself on stuff that, like, and you guys got to understand, like, I got a 13-year-old daughter. I play video games, mostly on my phone now while I'm at work. Cause what else is a security guard going to do? Shit. And people ask me, they're like, oh, you got a YouTube channel. How many subs you got? I'm like, 30,000. They're like, cool. What's it about? I go, nerd shit. You know what I mean? It's not even like, I can really just go up to somebody and be like, they're like, oh, cool. You got a YouTube channel. What's it about? Nerd shit. Because most people, they don't really care. And, it's just, what are you going to do? Sit down and explain to them the whole history or even the brief history of weather control, geoengineering, and why all this matters? You know how many times I've tried that? All I can get away with is a couple nuggets, like, hey, what's that? And, old man's like, it's a cloud. And I was like, really? You ever seen a straight cloud in your entire life? And then they look back and they go, wait a minute, what is that? Should look it up. And while you look it up, keep looking up because there's some shit going down. You know what I'm saying? It takes so many cuts to break through that thick outer skeleton on, these NPCs. You know what I mean? Like I've been doing this for 15 plus years. I'm telling you, this nerd shit, it's a small group of dedicated individuals. Not a lot of money to be made here. Just not going to happen. This is a passion project for me. This is something I do because I have to do it. Until I see 30 me's, actually doing something about it. And, I don't have the money to, like, I got to work 50 hours a week. Otherwise, my ass would be, up at, like storming the Fox News and CNN building just to raise awareness and going up to Washington, D.C. and heckling every congressman. Going to every political action convention or whatever to raise awareness, literally hanging outside Joe Rogan's damn den and getting beat up by his bodyguards until finally he has me on. If I didn't work a 50-hour-a-week job to take care of my family, that's what I'd be doing. But I can't do that. So I can only do what I can do, and that is nerd shit. So this is my nerd shit channel. I hope that you guys have found this nerdy discussion about how, when, where, and why billionaires just want to kill people. And you compound that with the fact that, that basically the weather's just going to get wackier. It's just going to get more chaotic. We're headed into a solar, a grand solar minimum on the larger scale of things. Technically we're going into a solar maximum over the next 3 years, but it's still smaller than most people have expected. Mr. B, how much money do you need, Jim? Right now I make about, sadly, $1,200 every 2 weeks at this job. If I could come up with $30,000 a month, I wouldn't have to work that job. But I have to do that, and then I make about $600 between YouTube and Patreon. So you do the math. And I have a wife of 25 years. I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old daughter. And my 13-year-old is going to be needing a car probably in the next 3 years. Then there's college, and I have no savings, no retirement. We all broke. I mean, that's the problem. We all broke. And I'm also a Southerner. So we're kind of proud and don't like asking for a handout. So that's why you'll see me mention like one time at the beginning of the video, hey, go to climateviewer.com, donate if you can. But I'm not going to like sit on here and freaking e-beg and sad face the whole time, because that wouldn't be very interesting, now would it? So at the end of the day, yeah, I'm facing about probably anywhere between $10,000 to $30,000 worth of fixing my mouth, because these teeth are about to fall out. For those who've been around the channel long enough, you remember when I was invited to the second chemtrail summit that Matt Landman put on, and then I was supposed to be the lead speaker at the event, and then he went on the attack against me all over the internet, slurring my name because I said I couldn't come. Well, the reason I didn't come is because 2 of my front teeth just crumbled and collapsed. So yeah, that was the start of that. And now, years later, I have mostly fake teeth. And the problem is, at this point, the few teeth I have left, they're about to crumble, which means that the $5,000 I spent on the partials won't be good anymore. But those are the things, them's the breaks. Them's the breaks. So yeah, this is like you go from highs to lows, you get from gassed up to depression wagon constantly. Get on disability research and write comics. Oh Lord, wouldn't that be nice? No, it would never, it wouldn't cover the bills. I mean, it's just bottom line. Like right now, I want to be able to add on Restream and a couple other things so that I could stream on more than one channel, so it's not just on YouTube. And I mean, just that's like another $50 a month plus other things. I don't know what it's called, Willie. I think it's called, you got jacked up teeth, bro. I got jacked up teeth. Like I have no molars whatsoever. They all crumbled years ago. And I did not smoke crack or meth or anything like that. So it wasn't that. But not a druggie. Don't even drink alcohol. So I don't know. But that's the thing. Oh Lord. Well, anyway, this is the part where, at the end of the video, most people have, and I'm gonna tell you this just from looking at the metrics, most people don't make it past about 25 minutes of an hour long video. They make it about 15 to 20 minutes. And if I do like a 2-hour video, I might get somebody, like 60% of the viewers make it 30 minutes. So the only people that are left here right now, you guys are special. And I know that 90% of the people that are watching this video are not even going to hear this shit that I say at the end. That's why I don't care. And I'll just completely just be like transparent about stuff, because what does it matter, right? Nobody's going to watch this part. It's just, them's the breaks. But that being said, God, what time is it? It's 11:30. I got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I got to drive an hour to Florence. They're going to stick me in. The good news is with the MRI, it said without contrast, because if it was with contrast, they'd be filling me full of barium. So if you don't know that, whenever you go get an MRI and they give you contrast, that's usually barium that they're injecting directly into your veins, because just like with HAARP shoots sounding rockets into the sky and they spray barium into an invisible medium, and then they heat it with a microwave or an electromagnetic wave so they can then see the invisible ionosphere. Whenever you get an MRI with contrast, they shoot barium into your veins so that whenever they hit it with the microwave, the magnet, that's the M in MRI, whenever they hit it with the magnet, they can see things that otherwise would not show up. So good thing, at least, you know, when they scan me tomorrow, there won't be contrast. But, you know, I'm creeped out about what they're going to find. So hopefully they find nothing, and won't know for a while, but I'll let you guys know in the future. You know, if I got a big freaking golf ball sized, you know, tumor in my head because CIA decided to zap me with a EMF weapon. But more than likely, I'm betting they're going to find nothing. Hopefully. More than likely. So with that being said, I got to get my ass to bed. I just wanted to harp on this because, you know, like I said, somebody sent me the video. I'd never heard of Redacted, never seen any of their videos, didn't know who Clayton was. Saw them talking about Bill Gates and the EU thing and said, you know what? Let me kind of just go over what they're saying and kind of expound on it because, I mean, don't we know this by now? I mean, don't you know that these billionaires want to kill people? I mean, they'll say that they're doing it for the greater good. And that greater good is them and their technocrat buddies. And now you know, knowing is half the battle. So with information comes power. With power comes great responsibility. Please take the information that I provide in these videos, my websites, and microdosing to attack ideas, not people. Love you, mean it. If the video resonates with you, leave me a comment because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. Yeah! Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.